This iPhone 12 Pro Max is a little worse for wear. Found on the side of a highway, it's not hard to see why. The screen is so cracked it's flexible, yet somehow the back doesn't even have a scratch, with the exception to the two damaged camera lenses. It was found by my grandfather's friend who saw it 3 days prior to picking it up. When he went past again and saw it was still there, he stopped and collected it. So we know it's been left abandoned on the side of the highway for at least 3 days, but likely longer. As such, water and dust has found its way inside, with the two exposed cameras displaying moisture under the lens. Despite all the damage, it could house precious photos or information the owner needs back, so we'll try and track them down. However, first, I want to see if it'll power on. We'll open it up later to see just how it looks inside, but I just want to see if the phone has any chance of revival. Sure enough, it's drawing about an amp of current, and the JC-C2 box is able to read its serial number. Because the screen is dead, I only have one avenue to finding the owner: the SIM card. I'll retrieve the phone number of the owner from the card itself. This technique applies to any phone with a SIM card. Even the SIM tray of this iPhone provides some identifiable information we can use to learn more about the phone. Putting this information into a site like iUnlocker.com, I can see this is an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and while iCloud is enabled, it has not been reported as lost. If it had and the display was working, you might see a message and a phone number you can call. There's a few other techniques you can use if the display works, which I'll cover later on. As for the SIM we've retrieved, I'll insert it into another phone. You can put the phone into airplane mode if you don't want it to connect to the phone network. This will work either way. On an iPhone, you can find the number in phone settings, or on Android in the phone app. One thing of note is with this SIM, it's not able to find service, likely meaning the owner has had the old SIM cancelled and a new one issued. Most times when that happens, the phone number is the same, meaning texting or calling the number should put us through to the owner.
You are calling is not available.
The call went straight to voicemail. Maybe they've not yet received their new SIM. Regardless, I left a message. Hello, I'm calling in regards to a phone that was found on the side of a highway. I sent a text to this number yesterday, but didn't hear back. I've retrieved this number from a SIM card that was in the phone. Happy to text through some photos. Please let me know if this is your phone or not. Thank you. With no response, it's possible they got a new number. So it's time we did some more investigating using open source intelligence. I'll see what I can find out about the owner purely based on the phone number. One easy method is looking up the number or email on social media platforms. This can be done by first adding the number to contacts and allowing social media apps to look for friends in your contacts. You can also type the number directly into Facebook Messenger. With no results, I decided to just Google the phone number. Google came back with only one result: a LinkedIn profile for a man named Ian in Ballarat, a city about an hour from where the phone was found. Ideally, you'd want multiple sources to prove this is the owner, but with no other leads, I thought I'd try and reach out. With no obvious way to contact Ian on LinkedIn, I went back to Google where I could use a Google Dork query to find out more. Putting the name in quotation marks tells Google to return only results specifically containing that string. Further, I added Ballarat as a keyword to help narrow down search results. In just a few clicks, I'd found a local newspaper article with his picture and contact details to a festival committee he was a part of. I shot off a message to the president of the committee, and they've passed my contact info on to Ian. If he wants his phone back, he now knows who to contact. If the screen had been working, there are some other approaches I could have taken. However, this depends on whether the phone is before or after first unlock. If it's been powered off, it'll display the message passcode is required after iPhone restarts, meaning the user data is encrypted. AFU is the best case scenario, as you can ask the assistant who the owner is. Hey Hugh, who does this phone belong to?
I believe this iPhone belongs to Hugh Jeffries.
Then you can just get the phone to call out. Hey Hugh, call Hugh Jeffries.
I don't see a Hugh Jeffries in your contacts.
Of course, that only works if the assistant is smart enough.
I don't see a Hugh Jeffries in your contacts.
Call Mum. But you can ask it to call relatives' contacts. If you end up with a before first unlock device, attempting to use Siri will just result in the phone asking for a passcode. The only option here is to check if any medical ID has been set up. Sometimes this can include contact information. For iOS version 11.4 and earlier, you may also find the owner's name set as the device name. However, with newer versions of iOS, by default, you need to enter a passcode before the device will even attempt to connect to a computer. Therefore, you can't read the device's name. However, a security researcher has found a way to get info such as last used phone number and email address for a BFU iPhone. However, I'm not encouraging the use of this as I don't know the legality of it, but it's an interesting story that's worth mentioning. As for Android, it also has a similar emergency contact page that can be helpful if you're trying to return an Android phone. As promised, we're going to take a look inside this iPhone 12 Pro Max to see just how bad the damage is. After removing the two pentalobe screws, I can heat the damaged display on a heat plate for several minutes before prying it open. No suction cup will adhere to this screen, so I'll use a thin metal jimmy tool to get under the screen, using a plastic pick wherever I can to avoid damaging the housing further. I have a feeling this phone may have been run over as the frame is bent. Opening up the display, we get our much awaited look inside the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's looking a little more rusty than I expected. There is also what appears to be mud that has seeped into the phone. Even though this is probably in an unrestorable state, there is still a good chance you could pull the data off the phone to recover photos and documents. Regardless of the condition, I felt it was still important to reach out. Who knows, maybe they would pay someone to recover precious information that's stored on the device. Still, I wanted to see if this device was salvageable. I'll unplug the battery and test its voltage with a multimeter. There wasn't any indication of where positive and negative was on the battery connector, so I just had to make some assumptions. I wasn't able to get any voltage readout at all. Trying with an iPhone XS battery, I was able to get 4 volts testing on the same points, so it's likely the battery just isn't holding a charge. When the battery was unplugged, I wasn't getting any serial number readout on my JCC2, so I have to assume the battery was at least doing something, as when connected to the phone, it does seem to boot, but not enough to enter an OS, as there's no vibration or charging sound. I noticed my C2 box kept coming back up with the serial number as it detected the phone again, meaning it's likely in a boot loop. What this little box can do is place the device in recovery mode, to which it showed up in my computer. The boot loop could be caused by board damage or even a bad battery, but being iCloud locked and not my phone, I won't be proceeding any further. If you want the chance to have your lost phone returned by a good Samaritan, be sure to set up the emergency contact info on your Android or iPhone. On iPhone, this is done in the Health app, or for Android, in Settings or the emergency contact page. You don't have to put any medical info if you don't want to, maybe just a phone number, email or PO box. Then, if anyone comes across your phone, they can access that info regardless of its lock status and be able to get in touch. So this is it, a comprehensive guide to returning a lost phone. Whether it was found by you or you happen to get scammed buying it. Hopefully you can use some of the techniques shown to find its rightful owner. It should also be noted that you can take something like this to your local police station if found locally, and they might hold on to it if anyone comes looking for it. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and check out the phone restoration playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.